Why do we hand out endless patience to a complete stranger who spills hot coffee across our shirt? Yet turn into a storm of sharp words the moment our partner asks a simple question about dinner. It feels so backwards, does it not? Out in the world we play the part of the calm professional, the polite commuter, the understanding colleague. We swallow irritation, force smiles, and keep our cool even when traffic crawls or clients demand the impossible. Then the front door clicks shut behind us. The outside world disappears, and suddenly the people we love most become the target of every leftover frustration we swore we had under control. One gentle inquiry, one small request, and the mask cracks. A cutting remark flies out before we can stop it. The room grows heavy with silence. We watch the hurt flash across their face and feel that strange mix of hollow victory and deep regret. How does this happen, and why does it happen most fiercely with the very people who anchor our lives? Picture it clearly. The day has worn you down like sandpaper on soft wood. You have smiled through back-to-back meetings, bitten your tongue in rush hour chaos, and carried the weight of unspoken stress from the moment your alarm rang. Now you step inside. Your bag drops with a heavy thud. At the table your partner looks up with genuine care and asks, "How was the meeting? Did you manage to eat anything?" In a heartbeat something inside you snaps. You fire back about their tone, their timing, their inability to read the room. The words land like broken glass. The warm smell of food turns sour in the air. You know instantly that you have crossed a line. Yet the impulse felt unstoppable. This is not you at your best. This is not even the person you believe yourself to be. So what invisible force flips the switch the moment you cross the threshold? To find the answer we must step inside the exhausted architecture of the brain itself. All day long we exert tremendous effort to maintain a social mask. Every polite smile, every swallowed complaint, every moment of biting back anger demands energy from the prefrontal cortex, the region that acts like a conductor keeping our impulses in check. Researchers call this steady drain of self-control resources ego depletion, the gradual wearing down of our mental reserves for restraint. It is not that the brain runs out of fuel entirely, but that the parts responsible for careful regulation simply run low after hours of constant use. When that happens, the brain looks for the quickest way to conserve what little energy remains. Emotional regulation is often the first system it switches off, especially once we reach the one place we feel truly safe. And that safety is the hidden key. With loved ones, the amygdala, the brain's ancient alarm system that scans constantly for threats, finally lowers its guard. It calculates that the cost of an outburst here is low. A boss might fire you, a stranger might retaliate, but the person who shares your home, who has chosen you again and again, is unlikely to walk away over a single sharp word. This subconscious certainty that we will not be abandoned becomes a dangerous permission slip. We reserve our most unfiltered selves for those we trust most because their unconditional presence feels like a safety net strong enough to catch even our ugliest moments. Yet that very safety twists into something harmful. The brain treats home as a pressure release valve for everything the outside world forced us to contain. This release often takes the shape of what psychologists describe as protest behavior. Deep inside, especially if we carry anxious patterns from childhood, we sometimes lob emotional grenades not because we want to hurt, but because we desperately need proof that the bond will hold. A criticism, a cold silence, an exaggerated complaint, these become unconscious tests. Will you still be here if I push? Will you still love me when I am difficult? The fear of abandonment disguises itself as anger. The more we depend on someone, the more fiercely the brain may strike first, preferring to create its own small crisis rather than wait helplessly for one that might never come. It is a primitive strategy wired from early attachment experiences. A way of saying I need you close even while I push you away. Layered on top of this is the quiet work of displacement and transference. During the day we cannot snap at the demanding client or the impossible boss without real consequences. So the psyche bottles the hostility like toxic cargo and carries it home. There the target feels safer. The partner becomes an emotional landfill for frustrations that actually belong elsewhere. At the same time old ghosts from childhood rise up. A dismissive tone from a parent long ago gets projected onto the present partner. A minor flaw suddenly feels like a capital offense. Researchers call this negative sentiment override, a state where the brain's filter turns neutral or even positive gestures into proof of rejection. Once that filter clicks into place, The smallest comment can feel like proof that the relationship is under threat. And then the biology accelerates everything. When emotions surge and the heart rate climbs past 100 beats per minute, something researchers call physiological flooding takes over. The amygdala stages a rapid takeover, flooding the system with stress hormones and shutting down the temporoparietal junction, the area that helps us read another person's feelings and perspective. In that moment, empathy literally goes offline. The partner who moments earlier was our safe harbor now registers in the brain as a threat to survival. We lose the capacity to see their hurt, to weigh our words, to remember that this is the person we cherish. We react first and think later, pouring fuel on a fire we cannot even see clearly. Yet none of this springs from deliberate cruelty. It arises from a perfect storm of depleted self-control, ancient attachment wiring, displaced anger, and a nervous system that mistakes safety for permission to unleash. The front door does not just close out the world, it closes off the last restraints we kept in place all day. The sanctuary we worked so hard to build quietly becomes the place where we unload the day's invisible battles. And every snapped remark, every microaggression, acts like a tiny moth quietly chewing at the fabric of connection. Love can absorb a great deal, but it is not indestructible. Those 1,000 small cuts accumulate. The safety net frays. The question lingers, how much damage can even the strongest bond endure before it begins to unravel? The turning point arrives when we finally recognize the pattern for what it is. The racing pulse, the shallow breath, the sudden urge to lash out. These are not signs of a failing relationship. They are signals from an exhausted brain trying to protect itself in the only way it knows how. The moment we learn to notice them, we gain the power to pause. Step away for a few minutes. Let the wildfire of the amygdala burn itself out. Breathe until the heart rate settles and the capacity for empathy returns. Only then can we return with clear eyes and steady hands, ready to repair instead of wound. We do not need to become perfect. We simply need to become cartographers of our own inner weather, mapping the moments when the storm is rising and choosing, deliberately, to protect the sanctuary rather than turn it into a battlefield. In the end, this paradox of absolute safety reveals something profoundly human. We are wired to survive, to test the bonds that matter most, and to seek release where it feels safest. Understanding the exhausted brain does not excuse the harm, but it does explain it. It gives us a map instead of shame. It turns confusion into compassion, for ourselves and for the people waiting for us behind that front door. When we cross the threshold with this knowledge, we stop transforming sanctuaries into arenas. We begin, instead, to rebuild them stronger than before. We owe a quiet debt of gratitude to the scientists and researchers who have mapped these hidden currents of the mind. From those who first explored the limits of self-control to those who illuminated the intricate dance of attachment, emotion, and physiology in our closest relationships. Their work lights the way toward kinder evenings and more resilient love.